Remember Ed Moss?
Ed Moss still.
Oh yeah.
Still swinging.
Yeah. Kind of on the negative side.
Yeah.
I always thought, you know. Yeah. What was it? Eminon, no name backwards.
Yeah.
And boy, you couldn't talk when you go in there. You were not allowed to talk when he played. And D. Felice.
Ed lived next door to me.
Did he?
What was it, Filson Place? No, I think Filson was around the corner where Ty lived.
Yeah.
But Ed had a house and I had a house around the corner.
Up there in the Gaslight District, up in Ludlow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful homes up in there.
Don't know what.
Well, you know, now that these days they tear anything that gets in the way.
Yeah.
They just tear it down. Yeah. Right. I think it was John Prine did a song. Maybe it's Muhlenberg County. Dad, take me back to Muhlenberg County, where empty pop bottles are all we would kill. I can't remember offhand. I used to know the words. Oh man, here.
Pave paradise and put up a parking lot.
What?
Joni Mitchell paved paradise and put up a parking lot.
Yes. Joni Mitchell. We play a lot of what Jeffrey does on Anything Goes. A lot of Joni Mitchell. We're trying to make it more positive. You know. And we'll get to that in a minute. I'll put it on here. I just turned it all off so you couldn't. It wouldn't interrupt with our recording. So. I did tell you, didn't I, about Elizabeth Froelich and I think I... Yeah, Elizabeth, I remember her. She was one of the first.
I was freelancing greeting cards. I had worked for a couple of greeting card companies. I was freelancing greeting cards, had a partner, and we wrote together. And Ty Williams said, the station's going to open and you ought to get a job there as an engineer. And
third class.
You could work at night and have cigarette money. And I said, well, I don't know anything about engineering. He said, the third class engineer
with a broadcast endorsement
is so simple.
It was.
Anybody could do that. A kid could do that.
Exactly, because I had to have one.
So I took the exam. I studied, took the exam, got the license, and went to work at night, taking care of the reels, just like you were doing subsequently, and
taking the meter readings.
Right.
You know, the grid, the power, and all that.
Check it every hour, whatever the hell it was. And make sure that they were all synced.
Everything was. We didn't run compression. No compression. So you had to keep those VU meters.
3 months. So anyway, at that point, Elizabeth Froelich is doing the morning show of fine arts music.
Exactly.
Not classical, fine arts. And she's going on vacation. And so she's recording shows to be played while she's on vacation. By God, she did not record enough shows. She's ready to go. And she came to me and said, would you record these last 2 shows for me? And because I've got to go. So I said, fine, fine with me. And I recorded the last 2 shows, and she went on vacation, and Frank Wood listened to
Senior.
the shows, and then he heard me on the last 2, and he called me in and he said, "You're doing the morning show."
I remember.
Elizabeth came back from vacation and didn't have a job, except pseudo-secretary.
Secretarial, yeah. Yeah, she was no relation.
But that got me into the chair behind the board, and
You did a very
when
good
Jelly
job.
Pudding took over, Bo said, "Well, who have I got? I've got Ty and Tom."
Absolutely.
That became, and the first Jelly Pudding show I did, after the show, Bo called me in and said, doing that humor, you can't do that every day. I don't think you should be doing
Bo
that. And I said, can't do it. That's what I am. That's what I do. That's how I talk.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the end of that. But I was always taken with the fact that he thought, I don't know what he thought, that I'd written some stuff out to do, or not. I was just being myself, talking and working with what I was working with. And of course I had years of background of writing funny greeting cards, so I had a mind that worked that way.
Mm-hmm.
But I was taken with the fact that he thought it was something that might be done once, but couldn't be done as a regular thing. People who know me have found out it is a regular thing.
Absolutely. First
Well,
time
I've gotten quieter about it, Michael, since I've gotten older. I'll say that.
First time I think I officially went on the air is we were doing we were playing, like, Bo I think was in Chicago at the time, and we were doing, with the automation and the cart machines, and we'd have sort of a changed format where we started playing, introducing some more top 40 type music into the format. And of course I'm there all night, and the old AP machine downstairs, bing 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 bing, man, that thing was going nuts. And I ran down and I pulled it off the copy, and I read where Janis Joplin, and just died. I immediately went on the air, and I talked, I read the news on it, and I played, I think, Ball and Chain, and I mean, I'm not going to go through the list. Right. But that was the first time I actually opened my mouth, and I later did get a first-class license. I have one. But I was just the Michael, the man behind the curtain, I always called myself. And, I didn't really... Nemo, he dubbed me Michael the Head Engineer. In front of Eberhard. I believe it was Glenn Eberhard or his father or somebody. And he's then introduced Jeff, said, "This is our chief engineer, Mr. Eberhard." And Jeffrey looked over to me and said, "Oh, well, then you must be Michael the Head Engineer." because that's when my hair was red and long.
I remember that red. I saw it recently in that picture.
Yeah.
Newtown.
Yeah. Well, I mean, working at the WEBN changed my life, and I wouldn't trade my life for anything. And I have nothing against the Wood family. I admire them. And that's all I've got to say about that.
Yeah. Well, and there's another example of you can plan and plan. Frank Wood had planned this station. He built this station.
Yeah.
He programmed this station.
WBFC, Brute Force Cybernetics. Murray applied for that.
And what happened was it got away from him. It turned into
what it turned into.
Yeah. And it was very successful.
Very successful. I'm proud to say that, that it was really the first Midwest underground FM radio station.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to Los Angeles like in 65 and 67. And at the time I was working over at WSAI as a co-op, answering the phones and that, and we'd play The Doors, Light My Fire. And I get out to Los Angeles, and I don't know if it was the real Don Steele on 93 KHJ or somebody, and this is Jim Morrison and The Doors, Light My Fire. And all of a sudden, I noticed it was long. I'd never heard the full version. Because you know how top 40 radio was.
Yeah, they cut out that then.
Well, they did it on purpose. I mean, the pressing was that way. And then they got to the point where they'd actually speed them up just a little bit so you could get more commercials in there. It's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bill Gates. No, not Bill Gates. Drake. Drake, Chenault program directors, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What war were you in? Korean? I mean, what service? You were in the service?
I was in the Marine Corps.
Oh, simple. Fine.
Well, I was young and dumb. Let me tell you that.
Once
and
you still
romantic.
are.
I was romantic. I was
Still
taken in by all.
Once a Marine, always a Marine. Well,
I have a friend who, when I told her I'd been in the Marine Corps, she said, "You are the most unlikely looking ex-Marine I have ever met in
there's
my
no
life."
such thing as ex-Marine. Did you see action?
No.
Okay, well then you're.
I was in Korea.
Yeah. Okay.
I had an opportunity to go up to the front.
Ooh.
And the guy who was in charge of the section I was working for would not let me go. And I was so upset and disappointed. Subsequently, I thanked that man from the bottom of my heart, because he had been through the Second War. He was a warrant officer, and he knew the likelihood of my getting badly injured or killed, and he wouldn't let me do it. He was saving me from the Chinese, the North Koreans, and myself.
Well, yes. Did you know Bill Nemo? Jeffrey's father? Yeah, he I forget what he was, major or colonel. I mean, he had the Purple Heart and everything. But to be honest with you, I was of age during the Vietnam War. I didn't want anything to do with it.
Right.
No. I'd have a hard time killing another man.